When we study and work with multiplying mixed numbers, we're going to take the same approach that we did for adding and subtracting mixed numbers. When I see a problem, 3 3/4 times 2 2/5, we're not going to try to figure out the new strategy for multiplying mixed numbers, because it actually is a very detailed, complex strategy. What we're going to do is simply change these mixed numbers to an improper fraction. So 3 times 4 is 12, plus 3 is 15/4. And by changing both of these to an improper fraction, 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12/5, I have two fractions that I need to multiply. Regardless of them being improper, it's still the same process as multiplying fractions. I multiply across my numerator, multiply across my denominator. If you don't know 15 times 12 mentally, then you should be using a multiplication strategy, whether it's lattice, traditional, partial products, off to the side to solve your problem. So the numbers may become larger with multiplication, so you just need to make sure you are using the correct strategies to find the right answers. So I have 180 over 20, 180 20ths. So what I'm going to do now is change my my improper fraction back to a mixed number using division. So you can see that there is going to be a lot of work involved with this. And in this case, we get a whole number of 9 because 20 goes in the 180 evenly. There is a lot of work, however, it's the same idea. Let's take our mixed numbers, turn them into improper fractions, and then we can simply solve our fraction multiplication problem. Here we have our next example, 4 3/8 times 2 4/5. Go ahead and pause the video, copy this problem down and solve it on your own. When you are finished, come back to see how it was solved. I'm about to start solving, so if you haven't paused, please do so now. My first step, as always with my mixed numbers, is to change them to improper fractions. So in this case, I have 35/8 times 14/5. If you're struggling with step 1 of taking your mixed numbers and turning them into improper fractions, you should be leaving this lesson and going back to that lesson to make sure you're comfortable with that skill, because it's very important to be able to do that to solve these problems. So you need to make sure that you're comfortable with that. If not, use your strategies and go back for more instruction. So now I just multiply across like I multiply fractions. I know 8 times 5 is 40, and 35 times 14 I don't know mentally, so I'm going to use my traditional multiplication strategy to figure it out. Perhaps you used lattice or partial products, and that's okay. The point is, we're not going to struggle, we're just going to use our strategies. So I'm getting 490. And now my last step is to 490 back to a mixed number. I know that 4 times 12 is 48, so 40 times 12 is 480, leaving me with 10. So my answer would be 12 and 10/40. Now I can look at my original problem. I have 4 times 2, and that equals 8. But it's really 4 and more than 4 times more than 2, so it makes sense to be higher than 8. If I were to change this to a 3, 4 times 3 would give me 12. And this is very close to 3. So I can see that my answer makes sense. It's not the most exact way to check, but it does tell you that you're in the right area for your answer. Here we have our last example. Again, please pause the video, copy this problem down, and solve on your own. And when you are finished, come back. So as we start to solve, I know that my first step is to change this to an improper fraction. And in this case, I have 21/8 times 33/4. And again, we multiply across our numerator and denominator. And I'm going to use my strategy for multiplying my numerators. Looks like I'm getting 693. And now I am going to change back to a mixed number using my division. I know that 32 times 2 is 64, so I can do times 20 to get 640. And now I can do 32 times 1. Be left with 41. Sorry, mistake there. Left with 21. So my answer here is going to be 21 and 21 30-seconds. So again, just a quick review. We're not solving in this method, just like addition and subtraction. We're taking our mixed numbers always and changing them to improper fractions and using our multiplication of fractions strategy.